You don't have weapons. So the government must listen to the youths.
Hello, somebody has been shot in Lekki Tollgate. I'm with you now, he has been shot on his thigh.
On the 20th day of October 2020, thousands of peaceful protesters gathered at the Lekki Tollgate, just a few meters from here, for what would be the last time. Security presence is heightened in anticipation of the one-year anniversary, so we couldn't film at the tollgate as originally planned. A year ago, a wave of protests swept across Nigeria against the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, a faction of the Nigerian police popularly known as SARS. But this is where it ended. More than the protests, dreams, hopes, and lives all came to a dramatic close right here. But to understand how peace turned to pandemonium is to go back to where it all started.
October 2020, there was a situation online on Twitter whereby certain video was posted, very disturbing one, how someone was being shot at and the white SUV was driven away by police officers. So there I was moved with compassion that, how are we going to continue like this in this country?
On October 3rd, 2020, a video reportedly showing SARS officers killing a young man in Delta State, southern Nigeria, went viral. In response, demonstrations across major cities begin, demanding accountability for the death of another person at the hands of the police. At the same time, even more Nigerians take to social media to voice their frustration on police brutality in Nigeria, as the hashtag #EndSARS tops the global trends on Twitter. A few days later, the protests continued growing momentum as hundreds of youths gathered around Lagos and other parts of Nigeria. In Lekki, Nigerian artists including Falz and Runtown kicked off the protest. Over in Ikeja, demonstrators were led by Rinu Oduala, Temitope Majekodumi, and Mr. Macaroni, some of who slept in front of the Lagos Government House overnight. In the capital Abuja, protesters vowed not to leave the premises of the Nigerian Police Force headquarters until the Inspector General of Police addressed them.
I think a feeling of exhaustion, a feeling of just being tired, probably a shared feeling. I think it was something everyone felt at the time. A feeling of frustration, a feeling of vex, a feeling of, come on man, it's getting too way out of hand, That was why I said on that day I would, take that walk along with several other Nigerians. I didn't know how many people were going to come out, maybe 50, maybe 100 people, but, we got there on that day, there were thousands of people on the streets, and of course Runtown had shared a tweet prior to that as well, so, both of us were pretty much at the forefront of that very first walk, and from that, it was like a chain reaction, everything just started to spiral out of control, if you like.
As part of my experience, I know that there's a solidarity walk where you just walk and come back. There's a protest where you need to now make them understand that you are out for engagement, direct one. So I told them we need to adopt that direct engagement. But in doing so, you need to file a petition so that when the government people gives us audience, we need to be specific as to what we want and how we want these things be effected almost immediately.
With police brutality and SARS and all the things that have happened regarding the protests, for me it was like, wow, finally, young people are united and we're pushing back and we're speaking up and we're saying, this time we're not going to back down until we see the government take steps to address something that has been a scourge to young Nigerians, something that has been killing our young people and hurting our young people.
On the 10th of October, Jimoh Isiaka was shot and killed during protests in Ogbomosho, Oyo State, southwest Nigeria. It sparked even more demonstrations across the country, especially in Abuja, where protesters were dispersed with tear gas and water cannons. One of a series of actions by the authorities that sent shockwaves through the Nigerian public and led to a massive exodus of protesters from social media to the streets. That same day, the iconic image of activist Aisha Yesufu was taken and became one of the mascots of the demonstrations, a symbol of resistance. Arise News reporter Ferdinand Duroha was covering scenes on the streets that day and ironically experienced firsthand the police brutality the crowd was protesting against.
We felt, okay, well, it was time for us to indeed ask their reactions and see exactly if, those pronouncements from the IGP was good enough to send them back home. And while we were on that, myself and my cameraman, well, the next thing we saw was, a troop of policemen, like bees are swarming all over us, and despite the fact that we held our cameras up and then held our microphones up, well, we got the beatings of our lives. Well, for my cameraman, well, I almost saw his skull being opened, and for myself, well, I was hit with bricks. I was hit with, with woods, with buttons, and we had to run for our lives.
As the protests went on, a 5-for-5 list of demands was presented to the Nigerian government. Among the demands were the immediate release of all protesters and setting up of an independent body to oversee the investigation and/or prosecution of all reports of police misconduct within 10 days. The End SARS movement was beginning to receive international attention as viral campaigning and celebrity support played its role too. But why was SARS created in the first place? The Special Anti-Robbery Squad was a branch of the Nigerian police force founded in 1992 under the State Criminal Investigation and Intelligence Department, established to investigate, detain, and prosecute persons involved in violent crimes, including armed robbery and kidnap.
Because of the upsurge in crime, government now decided to create a special body with the word special attached to Special Anti-Robbery Squad to show the distinct difference between special anti-robbery and those that were already in existence. And men were especially picked based on recommendations and their ability to fight crime. Our mode of operation was so simple. We were not chasing robbers, we were not investigating. We had our areas that were identified as armed robbers' routes. So we would stay there in the evening, and once a DPO radios that armed robbers were attacking, we know we had to stay, and we were picking them like 9 pins. Some of us were victims of armed robbers, and that was the reason why we could not even expose ourselves. We were not wearing uniform indicating that we were SARS men. Some of us would wear jeans, some agbada. I preferred agbada because I could conceal my AK-47. And so the basic thing was that the instruction given was reduce crime in Lagos, and we did that.
In 2016, Amnesty International released a report condemning SARS. It said the squad was responsible for human rights abuses, cruelty, and degrading treatment of Nigerians in their custody, as well as torture.
But fortunately for us, around 2016 to 17, we realized that this was a prevalent, culture. It's not just pocket of incidences or bad eggs. It was a culture, something that they've seen as a norm, as part of the policing structure of the country. So we started collecting signatures from people. So we launched a campaign then. It was End Bad SARS. That was how it started. Then later it became End SARS because we realized that it's not about bad, it's about a system. So it was a systemic imbroglio as at the time. So we eventually agreed on End SARS, but again, it's not just about ending SARS, because SARS is just a unit within the system. But again, there are multivariate flavors of SARS. We have special anti-robbery squad, special anti-kidnapping squad, special anti-cultism squad. We have a zonal intervention squad. We have so many of them. There were a plethora. In fact, aside from the people who are, it was an ad hoc program that was set up by 18 years ago or 19 years ago to address a specific problem. But because government abandoned that unit, they did not grow them, they did not improve upon them, they did not train them beyond their initial training. So every police station, every division started creating their own uniformed men who were operating under the guise of SARS. So anyone who is not wearing uniform in Nigeria is a SARS.
The disbanding of SARS is only the first step in our commitment to extensive police.
In his first televised speech since the protest started, President Buhari promises police reforms. But that did little to move protesters who were far too familiar with broken promises. Similar assurances were made in 2017, 2018, and 2019. But there seemed to be something different about this particular protest.
Protests were springing up, and you needed more than just, let me transfer you the money. We now needed order. And different people were helping out, were volunteering. So we had like a little kind of group that we were organizing things. So from that point, it became more about trying to be organized than being on the protest ground itself. But, obviously we're still making noise on Twitter and all that. So
if the objective was a call for change, it was working, albeit in small pockets.
I had never seen it before, and I haven't seen it since. I think there was like a collective waking up that happened where everyone cared about something. The End SARS is very much about police brutality, but it also just became like a way to just say no to all the nonsense that happens in this country. And I think for me, that was the biggest thing, just seeing everyone like kind of say, okay, this is the one I can do.
It was a feeling of wanting to be in control of our own affairs. Just feeling like for so long we've been subjected to this vile, despicable treatment in this country.
If you played a Fela song today, a song that he wrote in the 70s, if you listen to the lyrics, it could sound like he wrote it last week, because so many of our problems are the same, and they've been the same for so long. And in some cases, they've even gotten worse than they used to be decades ago. And for me, it stems from this place of frustration that why can't we do better? Why can't we be better?
It was probably the first time I ever felt like I was existing in a Nigeria that was together, and this is because people felt like at this point in time, we are in control of our own affairs.
The coming together of people online mirrored the solidarity on the ground. This was best encapsulated by the scenes on the Night of Lights, a candlelight procession commemorating the victims of police brutality.
When I heard that there was the curfew, I was like, they're announcing a curfew for 4 p.m. at 12. That was going to cause chaos. And I wasn't even thinking of chaos in terms of soldiers or anything. I was just thinking, this is Lagos. Everyone is not going to be home by 4. And so this is going to give them another reason to just harass people on the road. So I was calling different people who had, tried to reach out to us on everyone is trying to do better. That call the people you said are trying to do better and tell them that does this thing make sense, this curfew, that people are going to get harassed, that it's going to be chaotic.
When the call for the curfew came, I was like, this is a warning before violence. It's almost like as it was like our parents say, I will slap you if you don't go back inside right now, you understand? Meaning that this time around, they were actually going to land that slap. That was when I took to Instagram to say, as law-abiding citizens, let's try and catch that 4 o'clock before we go in, before, you know what I'm saying, leave now so you can be indoors by 4.
At about 6:45 p.m., videos started to surface about the presence of the Nigerian military at the Lekki toll gate.
Army, don't come, Army! Jesus, let's go, let's go. Move.
We're here on the ground. You know, the police have pulled up, So I'm watching, I'm just like, oh crap, well, I will just walk. I'll just go out and see what's happening because I know that we have 5 or 6 celebrities there. Oh, pow. Eh? What's happening here?
This is what we see in Nigeria. See what they're causing. See, they're releasing fire. They're releasing fire. This is Lekki toll gate. This is Lekki.
An End SARS emergency hotline was activated during the protest. Its purpose? To request financial, legal, and moral support. But on October 20th, 2020, the phone calls took a drastic turn. This is the first time these recordings have been made public.
Hello, good evening. Hands up response team. People check emergency.
Good to them.
Can you hear me?
Someone dying on the
Can you just say ambulance through Lekki toll gate now?
They go cut your leg. If your leg gets infected too much.
What a brave lady, eh? She was already out and she went back in. She said, I want to show you people what's happening. Everybody said, you're lying, you're a liar, you're a thief. She ran back. Just imagine being a young girl and running back. He said, no, let people see what's happening. So she ran back. They tried. They carried one person, put him there, came back. We watched. I was just sitting in my room like, what?
They shot this guy. How you remove the bullet in your pocket? How are you feeling? You need to tie that in, Sha. You okay?
Protests are a fundamental part of any democracy anywhere in the world. You look at the United States, look at what happened with Black Lives Matter protests. You know, these were regular, and see how police made several attempts to treat people in the most respectable way, because that is what they should be doing. But of course, what do we have here? We have ridiculous, stupid, senseless, of course, very violent people in power that do not care.
I don't think I've wept that much in a long time. I couldn't believe it. I honestly could not believe that this is where we were. I was like, okay, so now they're killing us because we've come out to say. They were singing the national anthem, for God's sake. Like, it's such a harrowing thing to see people sitting down, waving flags, and to just start hearing back.
And what I saw was unbelievable. It was wild. It looked like a war ground, like a battle. You know, people were running for their lives. I saw people being attempted to be treated by other, civilians, of course, for gunshot wounds. We saw all that happen live. We saw people just scattered everywhere, people crying, people helpless. Innocent Nigerians had done nothing but protest against violation of their rights.
I felt really bad because personally, and I took it very personally, because since the End SARS advocacy started, there had never been bloodshed as far as the engagement of the authorities in fixing the problem. There had never been such. Nobody has been endangered. Rather, we endanger our own lives to protect the people. So there are lots of people out there who trusted and believed in that advocacy and who came out because they didn't, people can't really tell the difference. End SARS is End SARS. Oh, it's what we've been hearing about. These people have been helping us. It's time for us to lend our own voice to what is happening and do our own part. So, and that's very commendable. Our youth must be commended for that. But again, looking backward, based on what has happened and how things have, could things have been done better? Could it have taken a better toll? Could we have listened to each other enough to prevent this from happening?
27-year-old Lucky Philemon was one of the protesters who was shot at the Lekki toll gate. He suffered numerous injuries that night and eventually had his left leg amputated.
The 20th day of October, after closing from work around 5 o'clock, so I now went to the peaceful protest at the Lekki toll gate. So we are there with some other protesters. We are there protesting. We are singing a national anthem, waving our common flag up there. So sometime around 7:45, some military men now came and started shooting us. So while I'm around there, I did not run away because they asked us not to run away. They asked us to sit down. We should not run away. So I bear and sit down. So when the thing is getting hot, I now stand up. I'm about to run. So before I know, they now shoot at me on my right leg. So I fell down there. So when I was there, for some time, when I get my conscious back from there, I now open my eyes and saw myself in the mix of dead protesters. So I now raise up my hand and shout. So some military men now came. One of them was now speaking his outside, saying one another, which means this one is still alive. So from there, they now rescue me in an ambulance and take me to Riditin Hospital in VI. From there, the next day, when I wake up, then the doctor now came, that was the doctor that operated my leg. He now come and told me everything that my injury was in gunshot. So and they can't be able to make it possible. So from there, then he now told me that they have to amputate my leg. I'm a professional carpenter. I used to work in construction, that is building house. So as you can see now, I can't be able to do anything since that very day that this very thing happened to me.
In the days that followed, several buildings were set ablaze in Lekki and other parts of Lagos. A major TV station, BRT buses, as well as the headquarters of the Nigerian Ports Authority were all set on fire. As many questions began to bubble to the surface, the urgency for the Judicial Panel of Inquiry to be set up was palpable.
Because I am now on the Judicial Panel, I'm investigating what has happened. Facts are before us. Things are clearer than what it was then. But I am very hopeful that the world will see what happened once our reports are out. And, I just hope that the law will take its course as it should be.
The 9-man panel, chaired by retired Justice Doris Okuwobi, consisted of a retired Deputy Inspector of Police, Taiwo Lakanu, Ebun Adegboruwa San, and Patience Udo, both representing the civil society, Temitope Majekodumi and Rinu Oduola, representing the youths, Olutoyin Odusoya, Director of the Lagos Citizens Mediation Center, Lucas Koyejo, the Zonal Coordinator of the Southwest Zone, and Shegun Awosoya, popularly known as Segalink, human rights activist and NSAS crooner.
A lot of youths did not survive police brutality. A lot of them are still missing till today. A lot of them are looking for justice. And in the spirit of truth and reconciliation based on consensus, there must be something needs to be done, which also led to the dialogue of we need to set up a panel of inquiry across Nigeria, where credible individuals within the criminal justice system will be brought to fore. They don't need to be politicians. They don't need to agree with the states they are in, they're going to operate in. Just bring them in. Let the people know that these people are credible. Let the youth have representation on that panel, and then let us begin to look into the inquiry. Maybe this thing is even a lie. Let us know for sure that there are cases, there are prayers unanswered. Let us bring them forth. And that was exactly what was agreed to and what the youth also stated in their demands and what was done eventually.
When a person is killed by police brutality, their death leaves a void their loved ones can only hope to come to terms with when there is justice. Tolulope Okpeniyi was made a widow after her husband's death in the hands of SARS officials on August 19, 2007. After months of journeying to the judicial panel to state her case, she received a compensation of 10 million naira. Still reeling from the judgment, she has invited me into her home to share her story.
So I don't know what happened exactly. I'm not there. Like I told you, I'm a nursing mother then. I have a baby with me, so I couldn't go out. So I don't know what happened. It's just the news that they brought to me that he was shot by SARS. My husband is a generous man. Husband, father, brother, everything that you can mention. That is my husband. To eat, to survive, I and my kids was very, very tough. I don't have anything. I don't have anything. I don't have a job. A lot of things happened. That 2007 to this period. Until I got the check that very day. And I was very happy.
In the case of Hannah Olubodi, a young woman hit by a stray bullet in her own home in 2018, an event she says changed her life forever.
2018, a year I will never forget. I came back from work to prepare my child for school. I already had all that I needed to make food for him, but there was no pepper. I stepped out to get it. On getting downstairs, I realized that officers were shooting. When I made an attempt to run, just at the spot where I was, a straight bullet hit me. By the time I opened my eyes, I was already at Lutz. I was discharged after 6 months of being admitted at the hospital. Ever since then, I couldn't walk or go back to my job anymore. My husband caters for the needs in the house. Before now, I am always out there to assist my family, but now all I do is to stay indoors, all day at home, not doing anything other than to cry because of my condition.
Whenever it is issues of human rights and the rule of law is being mentioned, then we are there prominently. And so it was important for us as an association, and the president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Mr. Olumide Apata, saw the need for the association to step up to its responsibility with respect to granting or giving up pro bono services to indigent Nigerians. We definitely know that basically, usually, not always, sometimes those who go through brutality in the hands of police are not able to afford lawyers and are not able to pursue their causes in court. And so the president, in his wisdom and living up to the motto and the responsibility of the Nigeria Bar Association, saw the need to step up and to offer pro bono services to indigent members of the public who were going to make a case at the panel. The reverse side of the hearing, which is very important, was to hear police officers, their children too, who suffered. Some police officers, their children were killed, because by hoodlums. So we must admit to that fact. Police officers also, police stations were burnt. We are never going to deny that fact. And properties of police officers were carted away, looted, and burnt. What the panel did was to begin to look into those cases that had to do with that involved police officers, because their welfare is also important. And we must never take these reforms as though it is the people versus the police. No, nobody is against the police. It is the people's police.
The real problem here is not police brutality. That's not the real problem. It's a symptom. The real problem is the police. Just when you see the police officers, just look at them. Look at their shoes. Look at their clothes. Look at how they are nourished. We've ignored it for so long. Police complain about how much they make. We ignore it. They complain about their training. A police officer dies. We heard that armed robbers killed 3 police. We don't even think about it. In the developed world, when a police officer dies, the state stops. a police officer died. We don't even care in Nigeria. We don't care. So even for the protesters and the young people, I want to say that that's the real problem. The real problem that if we want people to be awake in the middle of the night to protect us, if we want people to be able to carry guns and come enter cars and sit in the middle of the street, we have to take care of them. And we have to make sure that the people that are handling this are held accountable so that those people can be taken care of. And then we'll have a police force where young people will not be brutalized.
A lot of them aren't as enlightened as to even realize that we were fighting for them. You know, and that was where the misconception came. They thought we were fighting against them. You know, but all this is for everyone. This is a fight for everyone. It's for us to be able to exist amicably as a people.
Most of the fundamental lessons that we must learn from it is the fact that the people we have lost to the protest or to police brutality generally must not be forgotten. And then the reason why people protested also must be addressed to the point where we can tell ourselves, never again will this happen again. And it starts with the holistic reformation of the police, which I can tell you today that is in full gear, at least at the presidential level. This is not the time to continue to whip up emotions or to continue to demonize our police officers or demonize our youth. This is the time to find common ground and to begin to build a bridge over the gap, you know, within the society so that we can rebuild our criminal justice system and reinvigorate the trust in our authorities. And that cannot happen unless police begin to have a change of heart, a change of attitude, and begin to hold themselves accountable.
So we have to revamp the job itself, make them very comfortable, let them earn what is good. Policemen suffer, they go through hell. Where they go on transfer, where do they stay? Some they stay under the bridge. We have very good crop of officers. The Inspector General of Police will make a lot of change because even before he became IG, he was canvassing for changes. And most of his teams too are very good. Government should pump money.
The problem in Nigeria, right, is from the top all the way to the bottom. But the solution is from the bottom up. So we have to infiltrate this political system. We have to infiltrate our government at various levels, in appointed offices, in elected offices. We've got to get people with the right mindset in there. Key to it is young people and concerned people in Nigeria channeling this frustration and energy from protesting to power.
I think that Jide Sound is a good man that tried to do a good thing in that time. And I just want to say to him, sir, please finish. I know that in that office there are many things that happen, but you need to finish. When an executive comes back and puts their attention on something, I need to make sure these young people receive justice. I need to make sure those police officers are listening. If I can't have the authority, I'm going to take it back to the president. I'm going to complete the loop and give that information to young people.
There's power in numbers, and we have the numbers. We can cooperate. That's what the protest showed. We can cooperate as Nigerians. We can actually come together.
The journey is not over. There are some problems that need to be solved in that police problem. We need to stay protesting. When we talk about the bills that need to be passed, young people need to come out and need to be at the State House that day. The same way we were the day Jimoh Ibrahim died. We need to be there. No, you don't understand. If you don't treat these police officers bad, we're the ones that are going to suffer it.
Where party democracy exists anywhere else in the world, there's something called ideology. These political parties have ideologies, things that they stand for. What's the ideology of APC and PDP? They just come, broom, umbrella, broom. What do you stand for? What are you preaching? Oh, change of what? Change of what? Look at where we are. What has really changed? The only thing that has changed is the rate of Naira against dollar, and it's changing upward every single day. What else is changing? The price of foodstuff in the market. Inflation rate is ridiculous. What else is changing? Unemployment rate. What else is changing? Nigeria is now the #1 poverty capital in the world.
Nigeria has to wake up, and we need more youth involvement, which is already happening, but we seriously need more youth involvement. We need more exposed minds. These archaic minds are not, they're so hard to change, they're so hard to speak to, they're so hard to get through. We need young minds that are moving with the things and the trends and the technology that's happening with the world.
The Lagos Judicial Panel of Inquiry for the Restitution of Victims of SARS-related Abuses and Other Matters sat for the last time on the 18th of October. It gave away 148 million naira, more than $360,000 to 23 victims. Justice Doris Okuwobi confirmed the panel's recommendations and findings will be submitted to Lagos State Government through the Attorney General, Moyosore Onigbajo.
In this 1 year, the panel has dealt with a very, very heavy docket of 235 petitions, but some with multiple petitioners, giving us a sum total of 252 petitions and the investigation of the Lekki incident of 20th October 2020. The panel conducted 186 petitions and we have 52 yet to be taken. The Lekki investigation was completed by the panel and the panel is working on its report. For petitions not concluded and those not even opened at all, the files will be recommended in our report to be sent back to the Lagos State Ministry of Justice, the supervisory ministry, for the purposes of government's consideration of whatever body that would take up handling of human rights violations in Lagos State.
Without a doubt, the End SARS protest of 2020 etched itself into the fabric of Nigerian history. Following the conclusion of the Lagos panel, many Nigerians still believe the issues that drew the protest 12 months ago remain. And they're not alone. A Human Rights Watch article released on the 18th of October 2021 says the prospects for accountability are inconclusive and bleak. It went on to recommend Nigerian authorities take concrete and decisive steps to ensure those implicated in abuses against protesters are held accountable. As we look at the year that has been, and in the making of this documentary, a question still lingering in the minds of Nigerians is if there will ever be an end to police brutality. The future holds the answer.